Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It is great to be part of this class, and this afternoon I will be presenting on the topic of big data. My name is Randy Dixon, and this presentation is based on Chapter 4 of the course Text, Communication Technology Update and Fundamentals. As we all know, it's the 17th edition, edited by August and Meadows. And this chapter specifically is authored by Dr. Tony R. DeMars. In this presentation, we will be looking at the following topics, the following areas. What is big data? Big data's origin and development. How has big data become so big? Where does big data live? Big data and the corporate world, big data and me, or big data and you, and the ethical considerations for big data. So we're going to get right into it. The first question is, what is big data? Well, when I first heard of big data, I thought of this guy, Lieutenant Data, Second Officer and Chief Operations Officer of the Federation Starship USS Enterprise D and the USS Enterprise E. And of course, I am a big Trekkie fan. But when we think of big data today, is there any correlation? And I want to say the correlation isn't too far off for what this android, for what this character was tasked with doing. He was tasked with collecting data based on what was happening. He was tasked with analyzing that data and providing the best practice or providing the best guidance for the smooth running of the enterprise. And let's see then if this simplistic perspective really meets the reality of the topic of big data. What is big data? What is big data? Big data refers to extremely large and diverse collections of structured, unstructured, and even semi-structured data that continues to grow exponentially over time. Continues to grow. Structured, unstructured, semi-structured. What does that mean? Well, structured data has a predefined format. It is stored in a particular way. So when we fill out a form online, we see our names, first name, surname, address, telephone number, etc., easily stored, easily analyzed because of the structure. Some data would be unstructured. As you can imagine, then there's no structure given to that data. There's no predefined format. This is usually qualitative in nature, so audio, video, images, where many bits of information and data and components, as it were, come together to create these items. And semi-structure data obviously carries characteristics of structured and unstructured data. Big data is characterized by three main characteristics. They're referred to as the three V's. These V's are volume, velocity, and variety. What is this all about? Volume. Well, volume refers to the amount of data. Volume speaks to the amount of data that is generated, and big data focuses on the quantity of data that has now reached unprecedented heights. In 2023, approximately 120 zettabytes of information was generated online. 120 zettabytes. I don't know if you know what that is, but a zettabyte or zettabyte is 1 billion with a B gigabytes. Most laptops today would probably come with a minimum of 1 terabyte, which is about 1,000 gigabytes of information, and a zettabyte is 1 billion of those those gigs. And in 2024, this year, that number is expected to grow and reach over 170 zettabytes. That's a lot of data. And big data is growing and is growing and is growing, and it's also growing very quickly. And this brings us to velocity. It is growing very, very quickly, so quickly then that it's hard to keep up. Velocity then speaks to the speed and how fast the data is being generated. As there are increased sources of data, then data is generated even quicker, and this velocity continues to increase. We are in a situation then where we have data being given and produced and collected and stored in real time. There is a fast growth in apps, and more apps are collecting data in real time. As you engage with the app, the data is being collected and stored. There is no longer a great need to have data collected via one application or one solution and then delivered to a data center for analysis. It all happens simultaneously while you're on the app, while you're on your device. And of course, then we move on to variety, because data is collected in a variety of ways. I kind of mentioned one earlier. Some of these ways include forms, online forms, the photographs you take on your phone and post to social media, the games that we play, job applications, when we shop online, when we do surveys or search engine searches, etc. The list goes on and on. These are the three main characteristics, and of course, other authors and other communications specialists and big data specialists have come up with other V's to add to this list. But one V that I want to add to this list is veracity. Veracity, because the quality of data that is given is also important. Companies want to collect data that is valuable. We don't want to collect data that has no value. Sometimes companies collect data and all the data is not important, all the data is not valuable. We want data that has high veracity, because that is good. In the world of big data, data that has no value is referred to as noise. It is not accepted. It is discarded. An example then of high veracity data would be data collected if you were to do a medical experiment or if you were to do a medical trial. That data is extremely important in developing a solution, be it medicine, be it a procedure. That data is important. Of course, one that has not much importance or that has low veracity would be the color of the shirt that you wear when you're taking this trial or when you're doing this experiment. So these are some of the things to consider, some of the characteristics when talking about big data: volume, velocity, variety, and veracity. These are things that we consider when we are talking about big data. So the question is, what's the big deal with big data? What's the big deal with big data? Big data is a big deal. It allows businesses to understand better the perspectives and the needs of customers, their interests, behavioral patterns. And these insights are crucial and are critical if a company wants to enhance its offerings, if a company wants to retain its customers and gain new customers. Data is really a huge deal. Let's talk quickly about the origin and the development of this big data. The origin of big data, as we know it today, has been attributed to John Massey. He was the chief scientist at Silicon Graphics, and he is said to be the first to understand and the first to articulate the phenomenon of big data. And this happened all the way back in the 90s. He was also recommended and attributed as the originator of the actual term big data. Another person who played a big role in this was Douglas Laney. He played a big role and continues to play a role in the evolution and development of big data. It says that he played an integral part in the early evolution of the definition and the recognition of how important big data was. And in the early 2000s, he was the one to collect and organize databases based on the three V's that we just spoke about: volume, velocity, and variety. He was the person to collect the data and to organize them in these three categories. So these guys would have contributed and continue to contribute to the development of big data. So the question again, how has big data become so big? How has it become so big? You see, it really is a big deal. Big data brings with it significant value to companies. It brings value, it brings a competitive edge, and it improves the performance. And this reality has caused many companies to pay close attention to the data that they are collecting. They're paying attention to it now. They're not ignoring it because they understand. And with this understanding, big data has grown and become a big deal. For many companies and many organizations, they are seeing how important it is to collect data, to analyze data. Before, in times past, information was collected, data was collected, but just discarded. And even if a company wanted to analyze, it would take long as the resources, technical resources, human resources to provide the results in a quick time may have not been available. So a company may have collected data, analyzed the data, and by the time they are ready to execute a decision based on the data has changed. Data storage was also a big challenge because it was expensive to store data. It would have been expensive to just keep data growing and growing on drives because it was costly then. But now, with the advent of much larger drives and drives being cheaper, it has become easier. Now there is open source software to analyze the data. It has become easy, and companies now are realizing the importance of this data. They're investing in storage, investing in software, investing in personnel, so that they can make better decisions. And they are understanding that these decisions they are making based on the data is providing for them greater returns, a much larger bottom line, as it were. And it is better to invest in the data, to invest in the analysis of the data so that the company could grow and be more profitable. Better to invest, better to be part of the big data initiative than just disregarding or deleting that data. So there is a lot of data out there. We spoke about this, and I would want to know then where all this data is being stored. Where does big data live? I was recently watching a video on YouTube, and it was about Airbuses and these Airbuses being built, super amazing. These huge factories and these hangars needed to house these Airbuses. Big things need big space. Many companies then saw the benefit of keeping their data, tons of data, and to store that data, they needed options. And as I said, we have many options now in storing data. So data is now stored in two ways. It's stored online, it is stored locally. Data can be stored locally. Companies invest in equipment and storage and in large networks and software and security, employees to manage and analyze, may have multiple physical locations for backup and redundancies, or some persons choose to do this online. So of course, there's a fee, and third-party providers are happy to have companies engage with them online. Big data and the corporate world. The corporate world has been using big data in a significant way. Big data continues to impact the decisions being made by many companies. Companies use information to find trends and predict future events. Uh, Businesses, there's more intelligence, there's more targeted marketing, proactive customer services, customer responses. There's improvement in so many things when big data is used. The corporate world has embraced big data. They've benefited from it. This is not just the corporate world, business to client or business to business. Even government institutions have used big data and using big data to make um, decisions that impact the country and its citizens. The healthcare system is using it, education, um, the defense system and defense initiatives are largely influenced by the big data being given and being analyzed so that better decisions can be made. But in reality and in our everyday experience, I should say, the corporate world, businesses are benefiting and using this to have an advantage. Some of the big players, we know them well: Amazon, Google, Netflix, Facebook, Spotify, Microsoft, Starbucks, Apple, Instagram. Many companies are using the data they receive, the data they analyze to make decisions that are now causing them to grow at a much quicker rate because decisions are being made from a place of having information, for a place of analyzing data for the evolution of the companies. Big data and me. In a report given by Geiger, 63% of people believe that individuals are responsible for protecting the data. The balance was an equal split, with persons saying companies and government should also be responsible. Of course, there are many other reviews done that, we could always research. We could research and get some information. Each person, though, I think is responsible for the information that is released. Of course, some instances are unavoidable. As I said, we shop online, we fill out forms, we're on social media, we take pictures, we share, we watch movies. But there are some things we have to be responsible for. Sometimes we see a window pop up and it says, "Which fruit do you like?" And we choose a fruit, and which car would you like, and we choose a car, and all that is data being collected, and that data is being given away freely to companies that are using our data to maximize their profits, and we get nothing in return. We must try our best to protect our data as best as we can in some simple ways. Use stronger passwords. We can have better internet security. Stay away from underground sites. Don't respond to emails from unknown persons. Don't click emails from even persons that you may know that may seem suspicious. Don't share your accounts with others. And where possible on your devices, if it gives you the option not to share data, choose that option. Read your software agreements very carefully before accepting the agreement so that there's nothing in the fine print that says that you are giving permission to have these companies collect data on you without you knowing. And these are just a few things. And of course, as the research said, I also agree that the government and companies themselves must play a role in protecting our privacy. And as we're closing, we're looking at the ethical considerations. Ethical considerations. Data ethics encompasses the moral obligations of gathering, protecting, and using personally identifiable information and how it affects questions companies must ask. Is this the right thing to do? Can we do better? Can we get this information in another way? Are we being transparent? Some questions that must be answered. Companies must also consider the following: ownership. The individual has ownership over the information. Transparency. The individual must be told how the information is collected, how it is stored, how it will be used. Privacy. The company must ensure that the data is private, and the company must know what the true intention is and reveal it. And finally, as we close, big data and gospel ministry. Hosea 4:6 says, "My people are destroyed because they have no knowledge." And the question that we as Christians must consider as we evangelize are, are we using the technologies to impact the gospel? Do we see a need to use big data in evangelism? Are we teaching and equipping and developing our members, especially our youth, to embrace and to use these technologies to guide the church in an ever-changing world? I want to suggest that big data also plays a part in gospel ministry. As we analyze, as we see how persons respond, then we can make better decisions as we preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. Following then would be references for this presentation. And I thank you for being part of this presentation. I look forward to your comments, and I pray that God will continue to bless you. Thank you very much.